Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we are able to showcase some of the work our past students have done. I'm Charlotte, one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have Charles with us, who did one of our courses called the Future Scholars Program. So firstly, Charles, can you just introduce yourself? So tell us where you're from, what year you are in school, and then just what made you seek out CCIR.
Hi, I'm Charles Shu. I'm a 12th grader from upstate New York. I saw it as a really good research program, like a good introduction to research, although it ended up being a lot more than that to me. The one-on-one mentorship was something that was a bit more difficult to find anywhere else. And then also, as this year started to roll around, I started to I started to solidify my interest in, what I wanted to study in the future, what I wanted to do in college. And so I thought the CCIR program that I did, which was Game Theory and the Causes of War, was a really good fit for that.
Great. And then, so that was the title of your course, is that right? Game Theory and the Causes of War. Great. And then can you just give us a general overview of what it was about? Maybe define game theory for those that aren't aware of what it is.
So it was a course basically using game theory models, which are kind of like abstract, either math-based or just an abstract set of tools that are very, very simple to look at, but that can be applied to real-world scenarios. The course was mostly about why wars start. It was a very unique approach for sure. It showed me that a lot of what I had initially thought about that was completely wrong. And we just went through, we had to learn some background knowledge in just game theory. And then we learned through a lot of case studies about how these game theory models applied to actual wars.
Interesting. And then had you had experience with this topic before in school with either game theory or even looking at the causes of war?
A little bit. I took a summer course and not at my school, but for a different program during the summer of my freshman to sophomore year about international politics. So that was a bit of an introduction into the causes of war part. And then I took an economics class in my school, which talked a little bit about game theory, but really not much. Most of the game theory I learned was from this course.
Interesting. So now we're just going to shift to discussing your specific research paper. So firstly, maybe can you give us the title of your paper and then a general synopsis of what it was about?
Yeah, so I've got it right here. The title is The Dynamics of Proxy War Patronage, Exploring the Confluence of Economics and Politics. That was actually not a title I came up with. That was a publisher suggested after, my title was not too good. But anyways, the paper is generally it's about how the domestic economy of a benefactor state affects its decision to switch from a proxy strategy in a war, which is basically sending help in any way that's not sending their own troops directly. So like anything like military aid, anything like medical aid, intelligence, or just monetary support would be proxy. Switching from a proxy strategy to a direct strategy, which is just directly shipping off their troops to that country to help fight the war. I use 4 different measures of economic trend just based on what the hypotheses and explanations are trying to talk about. And then I end up coming with 6 hypotheses about how the domestic economy, how the change in the domestic economy affects the world leaders' decisions to switch to that direct strategy.
Interesting. And how did you decide on this topic?
So that was a really, really long process. I still think after writing this whole thing, deciding on the topic was the hardest part for sure. I was very, I knew I had to write about something. I was looking for a topic just anywhere. So I just randomly started researching about the Vietnam War and Korean War because, just as a starting point so that I could try and get somewhere. Because before I was getting nowhere, trying to come up with a topic out of just from thin air. And so what was special about the Korean or the Vietnam War was that it's about how domestic politics affect the country's international strategy, I guess. And so I ended up coming up with a list of I ended up wanting to explore what what makes a country switch from, a proxy to a direct strategy. I think I came up with a list of maybe 15 possible 15 possible variables. And I ended up just selecting the trend of the economy because I thought it was not written about. So, I had a unique area to explore. And also I thought it was one of the stronger ones.
Interesting. And then, so for just your research methods and process, can you tell us what type of research you conducted and then what was the process of finding that data?
Yeah, so originally I wanted to do a quantitative study, did not end up in that direction. The paper is purely theory based. There's, no data sets, none of that, but I had to look at I had to go through a lot of different papers to try and find, first of all, yeah, more ideas, which, my mentors helped me out a lot with, but also to find more background knowledge to see, how other people were looking, like to see the perspective that other people were looking at the same problem through.
And then, yeah, so now can you just walk us through your findings? Was it something that maybe you were surprised to find, or was everything kind of aligned with your hypothesis?
If you're asking about findings, I did not test anything in this. A lot of the hypotheses are very, very difficult to test, even if I had the knowledge and the resources to do it. But I don't think there's any.
Not your necessarily tested hypotheses, but just kind of what you discussed in your discussion. What were kind of the points that you made?
Yeah. Okay. I can just look through the hypotheses then. I didn't think any of them was particularly unexpected. I have this one that says like benefactors, especially wealthier ones, are more likely to commit troops in a proxy war during periods of positive economic growth because of the increased basically capability and willingness that a government surplus brings. I added some stuff with different I added some extra stuff as like a qualifier to the hypotheses. So I remember I had this one where it was talking about how I cited these two papers about how Easterners and Westerners just fundamentally think in a different way, and how that would support that that Westerners were more inclined to commit troops during a period of positive economic trend than Easterners should be. But Easterners should be more inclined to commit troops during a period of negative economic trend than Westerners should be. By Westerners and Easterners, I mean Westerners as in people who grew up under cultures heavily influenced by Greek philosophy. So that would include us, or in the US, and then almost all of Western Europe. And then Eastern would be people who grew up under cultures influenced by Chinese philosophy. But yeah, there's 6 hypotheses. If you want me to read them all, I can, but I'm not sure if that's what you're asking for.
Maybe pick your top 2 or the 2 that you think are most interesting to you.
Okay. I thought the first one was, to be honest, fairly obvious, but I think also the strongest explanation. I think the last one I present is a hypothesis about extreme negative economic trend. I took this off of a theory called military Keynesianism, which is basically about how I think he was an American, not sure exactly what he did, but he was American. I think he was had some role in the government, and he was basically saying he wrote this theory about how during periods of extreme economic downturn, the government should just heavily invest in the military, and because that investment in the military stimulates economic growth. And so that was one of my hypotheses. In periods of extreme negative economic trend, leaders should be more likely to commit troops in a proxy war to bolster their country's economy. And then, forgot what I was going to say.
Interesting. Seems like a very interesting paper. And then my last question about your specific paper, can you just walk us through what your experience has been with the publication process? So Did you work with your mentor? Did you work with the CCIR publication team? And what's the outcome now?
Yeah, publication process was honestly a bit weird. I did work with my TA helped a lot finding these places that I could publish. He was the one who found the journal that I ended up publishing in. But yeah, definitely they helped a lot. My parents also just both happened to be professors, so they, know the publication process pretty well. So they were also able to help a lot. My publication process was a bit weird because I sent in a paper. They said, okay, you have some minor things you have to change. So I had to revise and resubmit. I resubmitted it, and then they accepted it at first. And then the lead publisher said, actually, no, you have to revise and resubmit one more time. And so eventually that happened, and then the paper got accepted.
Exciting, congratulations. Yeah, it's very common to have to do multiple rounds of revisions when publishing. But congratulations, that's really great that it was published. And then where did you publish?
A journal called The Scola.
Nice. Okay, so now we're going to shift just to discussing your general experience with CCIR. So firstly, can you tell us what your experience was like in the program doing a high-level research project like this as a high school student?
It was definitely very eye-opening. I don't think I've ever had to understand anything as deeply as, what I wrote about in the paper. I remember the research project specifically was very, I would end up finding myself on research rabbit holes all the time. Like I remember one time I was just, in my basement working, because that's where I try to work. And I just looked up and I was like, wait, why have I spent the last 2 hours researching the Zimbabwean economy in 1997? But that actually did end up making it into the final cut of the paper. So yeah, I guess that wasn't in vain. Yeah, a lot of little rabbit holes of research. And then I had to be very, very good about, and this was, where my mentors helped a lot about organizing my thoughts and putting them in the paper. Even before I started writing, the structure had to be very, a lot more, yeah, the paper had to be a lot more structured than, anything I'd ever written before.
Right. Nice. And then what was this research process and experience like compared to papers or projects that you've done in high school?
Definitely the biggest, project I've ever done. I don't know. I feel like it's not really comparable to anything you do in high school. So I don't think I can compare. It's, it's nowhere near the same level. It's, you might spend maybe a week if you work really hard on a paper in high school. This took months. So yeah, it's not really the same.
Yeah, that is very true. Research, doing it, especially kind of a full research paper and even going through the publication process is a very unique experience. And then can you tell us what your experience was like working with the other students in your course?
Yeah, they were very, very, they were very good. They were very helpful. I liked my class a lot. They were extremely, extremely involved, and the teacher would always ask us to give feedback on other people's projects, and they would definitely give me good advice. We didn't interact too much because, it's a virtual program. You only see each other maybe once a week, twice a week. Yeah, twice a week. But yeah, from what I saw of them, they were really great.
Great. And then my last question about just your experience with CCIR, you obviously took like a very niche specific course. Can you tell us what that was like compared to high school courses and even many undergraduate level courses that are much more broad, like Game Theory 101 or a history course looking into war, but you were really able to combine both of these very specific interests. Can you tell us what that was like being able to take such a niche course?
My answer is going to sound a lot like the same as before when I talked about the paper. I never go into anything as deeply. The broader courses at high school and then the college level courses they just don't go as deep as this, really, really niche course that I took here, which I guess is expected because, the course is niche for a reason. But yeah, I really felt like we could explore a lot of different things in this one area instead of just, kind of going over the key points and then moving on. It didn't feel like, in a lot of high school classes, it kind of feels like we're rushed to learn a lot. That feeling was not here at the CCIR program. It felt like we could really, we could really go over, everything.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point as well, that even with the courses that we have for the Futures College program, because they're such a small, tight-knit group, we're really able to kind of cater to all of your specific interests. And our goal is for you guys to learn whatever is most interesting to you, even if that means, stopping and discussing things a little bit more, or pivoting and, changing the direction so you can learn something else. So I think that's a great point. And then just two more questions. The first one, has this course given you any insights into your future? Has it maybe informed or shaped how you think of your path moving forward at all?
Yeah, for sure. I'm never, I don't think I'll ever know exactly what I want to do, and I don't think it's a good thing to lock myself in one area. But this course definitely solidified my interest in international relations. It's what motivated me to, basically apply as an international relations major to every school that I'm applying to.
Great. That's great that I was able to give you some insight. And then my last question for you, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
If I'm being pragmatic, college applications, of course. But a lot more importantly, I think it gives you the experience of understanding something at a very, very, very deep level that you would pretty much never get in any other type of course.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that's the end of our interview. Thank you so much for chatting to me, and congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Yeah, thank you.